Right, guys, we're now gonna head into the main course. We have a few elements we're gonna assemble to create a beautiful meal. So we're gonna start with our smashed potatoes.
Yeah, seeing as it's an Irish thing, we're going to start off with the potatoes.
Well, potatoes are pretty German too, gotta say.
For sure.
We're
There's
all
some
about
crossover
potatoes.
elements there.
Yeah.
So we've got here is really, really small mehlig Kartoffel. You got to use small ones. We did yesterday's, we parboiled these yesterday, and it makes them nice and soft. But because we did it a day before, it just gave them a little bit of time to dry out, so they're not full of water from the boiling process. So what we do with these little potatoes is I've got some oil heating in the oven, and we just smash them down, so they're still in one solid piece, but it just opens up the surface area on them.
Also, wir haben jetzt den Hauptgang. Und Teil des Hauptgangs sind ja unsere Smashed Potatoes. Auf jeden Fall haben wir die am Tag vorher schon gekocht, damit man die über den Tag austrocknen kann, damit die richtig trocken werden, damit man sie gut dann am nächsten Tag dann, wenn man sie tatsächlich an dem Abend dann benutzt, dann runterdrücken kann, so wie Andi das gerade macht, um sie dann in den Ofen zu tun. Andi hat auch vorhin schon Öl in den Ofen gestellt, damit es sich ein bisschen aufheizt. Nicht zu heiß, ne? It's not gonna get too hot, right?
No, not crazy hot.
Just so it's a little warm.
Just enough so it can get the skins nice and crispy.
Right. Yeah.
It's essentially like a fancy chip. You want it nice and crunchy on the outside and nice and soft
We're all about
on
the
the
chips.
inside.
Jetzt holt Andi das Öl, um dann die Potatoes, um dann die Kartoffeln mit dem Öl zu verbinden, damit die richtig schön darin noch crispy werden, also so schön knusprig und quasi wie schöne Pommes werden.
You want to make sure the oil is nice and hot. Get them crispy.
Wow.
We have about like half a centimeter of oil in here.
Also ein halber Zentimeter Öl und wie man auch sehen kann, ist das Öl ziemlich warm. Und man möchte, dass die Kartoffeln richtig schön drin sitzen im Öl, damit die da das alles komplett aufnehmen.
Yeah. And not too many. If you have too many, they won't get crispy.
Genau, also schön ebenmäßig aufteilen, damit nicht das zu gestaut ist.
And then lots of salt and pepper.
Ja, Kartoffeln können Salz und Pfeffer immer sehr gut gebrauchen, daher da ordentlich raufhauen.
So, now we put them back in the oven at 200 degrees for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to flip them.
Also die Kartoffeln gehen jetzt in den Ofen, 200 Grad für ungefähr 10 Minuten und dann werden sie nochmal gewendet.
So, coming up next, we've got our charred Scallion-Salsa Verde. Pretty much every country has their own salsa verde. It just means green sauce. Scallions and parsley are something you find like all over the place in Germany and Ireland. So it's really nice to be able to bring this together on a night like tonight.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is we char up our scallions. I do this on a cast iron pan that's smoking hot.
Oh, that is really hot.
Yeah, you want to cut them down so they fit into the pan nicely. You just want to get them nice and blackened on the outside.
Wow. Also was Andi hier macht, ist, dass er eine grüne Salsa macht, eine Salsa Verde. Und hat dafür Frühlingszwiebeln hat er geschnitten, ungefähr halbiert, weil es damit besser in die Pfanne passt. Die Pfanne ist nicht geölt, sondern einfach nur so sehr heiß und damit macht er jetzt, dass sie eine schwarze, dass sie richtig geschwärzt werden. Und das kommt dann zusammen mit, what kind of herbs are you using for the salsa verde?
So we got some parsley in there.
Parsley, also auch noch Petersilie.
Sherry Vinegar.
Also Essig.
Essig, Olivenöl, Schalotten und Knoblauch.
Oh, Schalotten und Knoblauch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you cook them with the root?
Holds it together.
Oh, that
If you
makes
take the
sense.
root off first, then they all just go everywhere.
That makes sense. Also die Wurzel dran lassen, weil so bleibt dann die Frühlingszwiebel auch noch komplett und fällt nicht auseinander.
Yeah, because you just really want to char the outside of them
Yeah.
and not necessarily the inside. The
Right.
inside will steam a lot,
Right.
so you're getting this black charriness that just goes together with meat so well. You don't have to get it completely blackened, but just that each one has a pretty decent solid char.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, we just want to let them cool, let them steam off a little bit. We're going to move on to the rest of the sauce. So the easiest way to do this, I like to reduce the amount of work I have to do as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with some parsley. I've already picked these. It's like a handful of chopped parsley. Then we're going to go for some shallots. So a bit of tablespoon.
That's like 1 shallot, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And we're keeping it raw.
Yeah.
Also Andy hat jetzt die Petersilie, ungefähr eine Handvoll Petersilie in den Blender gemacht. Dazu noch rohe Schalotten. Und dazu kommt jetzt auch noch Knoblauch.
Yeah. Now we have full clove of garlic.
Oh, with the skin.
With the skin, yeah. When you're doing it on the grater, when you're doing it on the grater, you don't need to take the skin off. Just put it straight through. I hate peeling garlic.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Genau, jetzt
So.
hat er eine Knoblauchzehe reingemacht.
Half a teaspoon crushed chilies.
Ein halber Teelöffel von Chiliflocken. Oh.
Next up, sherry vinegar. This is going to give the acidity. If you don't have sherry vinegar, red wine vinegar is perfect. So you need about 120 mils of this. What I like to do here is just pour it directly over the garlic and the shallots and just leave it sit for a few minutes. That will just take the edge off them.
Also Andy hat jetzt noch Essig auf die Schalotten und den Knoblauch direkt gemacht, damit die sich gut zusammenfügen können und ein bisschen die Schärfe auch wegnehmen. Und kümmert sich jetzt um die Frühlingszwiebeln, um die dann bereit zu machen für den Blender.
We just take the roots off these.
Also schön die Wurzeln wegmachen, die will man nicht essen.
Perfect.
And
So now, you just want to hit these with some salt. Probably about a teaspoon. You can always add more later. Can't take it away. And then about 180 mils of olive oil. Just a bit more olive oil than you put in vinegar.
Also eine Prise Salz. Lieber erstmal probieren und dann kann man später noch mehr hinzufügen. Und 180 Milliliter Öl ungefähr. Also man möchte mehr Öl als Essig dran haben. Eine Balance.
And a decent crunch of pepper.
Yeah.
So now we just want to pulse it. We want to be able to keep the sauce nice and chunky. You don't want to put it in a blender because it's just going to totally puree it. Pulse it just means instead of just letting it run, we just hit it in little bits. And it just keeps it nice and chunky. So at this point, you just want to taste it.
Oh, I want to try it.
There's a little bit too much vinegar, so we just chuck some more olive oil in it.
All right.
Stuff like this is just always like constantly taste as you go. If it's too acidic, add more olive oil. If it's too bland, add more salt.
It's got a really nice taste already.
Next thing we have coming up is a roasted carrot, beetroot, and garlic puree.
Oh, you gotta get your veggies in.
Yeah, we start off some beautiful organic vegetables from Brandenburg. We got some beetroot, some carrot, and garlic. All we do here is we cover everything with olive oil, including the garlic. We wrap that up, a little bit of salt, and then roast it in the oven for somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes.
How many degrees?
About 200.
200 degrees.
Yeah. Usually the carrots will be done a little bit before the beetroot, and the garlic will be done probably at the same time as the carrots. So
Right.
once all that's roasted off, it's going to look something like this.
Okay, also Andy macht ein Karotten-Rote-Bete-Püree. Und zwar ist das hier rote Beete und Karotten aus Brandenburg und hat die dann mit Olivenöl und Salz
Ja.
hinzugefügt. Genau. Und dann kommt das in den Ofen bei 200 Grad für wie lange?
30 bis 45 Minuten.
So you just broadly chop them up?
Yeah.
Because
They-
they're
they
pretty
ca-
much cooked already.
Yeah, they're
so-
cooked all the way through. We're just going to infuse some more flavor into them.
Also jetzt werden sie einfach nur grob geschnitten, weil gekocht ist es ja eh schon. Das heißt, die fallen auch schon fast auseinander. Das sieht man ja da, dass es schon super weich ist. Und das macht man dann alles in einen Topf rein. Oh, you're taking off the skin.
It just doesn't bring a great flavor into it's just a little bit tough for the puree.
Alright. Also Andy schält hier dann die rote Beete, weil die Schale nicht so gut ist für das Püree. What are you going to infuse it with?
Just some wine. We're going to reduce down some wine.
Red
and some,
wine?
And some carrot juice. No, some white wine.
White
just
wine.
to try and keep it a little bit light.
Okay, also sobald es dann im Topf ist, wird dann Weißwein noch hinzugefügt.
Cool.
Oh, look at that garlic.
So now at this point, put in a decent slug of wine. So you can see now there's not much of the wine left. So now we just want to blend all our lovely roasted vegetables together.
But you could probably just use a normal, like
A little stick blender.
yeah,
All you have is a food processor. It's totally fine.
anything works,
It's
right?
whatever you've got, yeah. Would you like to start it off slow? It gets all the big bits.
Ah. Ooh, that looks beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, the combination of the carrots and the beetroot just gives it this really electric flavor.
Also wie ihr gesehen habt, hat Andi das jetzt alles püriert. Also er hat jetzt noch ein bisschen Zitrone reingemacht, einfach damit die Farbe wirklich elektrisch rausploppt.
So next up we have the main course. It's the Irish beef entrecote. It's like a really special piece of beef.
Is it?
Yeah, so Irish beef is just absolutely fantastic. One of the main reasons our beef is so good is because we have so much grass. We have the worst weather in the world, and this is absolutely perfect for grass production.
True.
Generally, when I'm doing a steak of this quality, I just keep it super simple with salt and pepper. So what I usually do is take the meat out of the fridge about an hour beforehand. Just lets it come down to room temperature. You just get a much more even cook, but it also helps you get a nice crust on the outside.
Right.
At this point, we want to hit it with a decent bit of salt. Don't be afraid of the salt. It really helps the production of the crust on the outside. And get some pepper on there as well.
Also Andi hat jetzt ein Entrecote-Steak aus Irland natürlich hier vor sich und hat davon geschwärmt, dass halt das irische Rind besonders gut ist, weil sie halt vor allem Gras fressen. Und wir in Irland ja durchaus sehr viel Gras haben, weil das Wetter ja nicht unbedingt gut ist, aber das hilft natürlich, um sehr viel Gras zu wachsen, wenn da so viel Regen fällt, ne? Genau, und weil das halt so ein gutes Fleisch ist und weil es einfach von sich aus sehr viel natürliches Aroma schon bringt, braucht es gar nicht so viel Gewürze, um dann ein gutes Steak draus zu machen, sondern es reicht Salz, Pfeffer und dann ab
einfach
in die Pfanne.
Ja.
Right?
What's super important now at this point is that your pan is smoking hot, as you can see by all the smoke here in the background. That allows us to get a really nice crust on the outside while keeping the meat nice and tender on the inside. So I usually just do like a small little bit of Rapeseed in the pan. And now I just forget about that for the next 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, you don't want to move it, right?
No, we just want to let a really nice crust develop there.
Also er lässt das Fleisch jetzt einfach nur 2-3 Minuten im heißen Rapsöl anbraten. Es ist ganz wichtig, dass die Pfanne vorher super, super heiß ist.
If it's still sticking to the pan, we just leave it in there an extra couple of seconds. Once that starts coming up really easy, I know it's got a decent crust and it's time to flip over.
Also jetzt wieder nochmal 2-3 Minuten auf der Seite und danach wird es tatsächlich noch einmal umflippen, um einfach wirklich dieses Braun komplett durchzubekommen. Und dann ist es auch schon fertig.
Ja.
Richtig?
Super
Are
easy.
you gonna rest the meat for a little
For
while?
sure. Resting is probably the most important part of the cooking process outside of actually cooking it. Perfect. So, at this point, we just want to let it relax for about 5 to 10 minutes. That's all the juices go back inside and all the meat tenderizes.
Ja, also jetzt wird es 5 Minuten nochmal ruhen gelassen, damit die Säfte im Fleisch bleiben. Alright guys, so you've made it. All the parts are done. And now you can enjoy your meal and we'll see you again for dessert.
Have fun.